Liam, we've got Inverness away on Friday night in front of the BBC cameras, so it's a little bit different in that it's midweek and it's live on telly. A game that you're looking forward to, I assume?
Definitely. I know obviously it's going to be a tough task for us now to win the league, but at the same time, if it is going to be playoffs, we want to be making sure that we're on good form, that we're doing the right things. Inverness are a good team. It'll be a tough game, we know that, but we've got to be using it to make sure that we are ready for the last part of the season, if it's not the league that we go for.
Yeah, and in a in a season that's been a challenge, but a successful one as well. You've been an almost ever-present in defence. We were just talking before we hit record. You've only missed 2 games, both against the Pars, this season. How have you felt about your season with the changes beside you in centre back? How's that affected your game?
I think the boys have coped with it really well, to be fair. I think the boys like Scott Brown obviously went into centre half for a lot at the start of the season. We're on a good run as well. I think he done really well. Obviously then you've sometimes got, if it's Muzza or Bruni coming over with Keithy on the other side. I think the boys have always adapted well. I know we obviously went through a phase of losing a few goals. I think recently we've managed to tighten it up at the back, and that's not just to do with the back four, that's to do with us as a team. But to be fair, we've got good players in the team, so you manage to play with the good players, and you manage to get on with it. I think obviously having a settled back four can be beneficial, but at the same time someone can come in and play really well, and it's the same with anybody that's sort of done that. And I think obviously a lot of the time I've had Muzza, Ewan Murray next to me, and I think we've got quite a good relationship, understand even if we're maybe arguing or whatever, we know it's sort of done, we're only doing it for the good of the team. So I feel like I've got a good relationship with Muzza as well, who's probably played there on the left hand side for the most of the season.
Yeah, and for yourself personally, your performances have been really solid, really consistent over the last couple of months, in my opinion. It must be good as a professional going into games knowing that you're solid and you're level and you're playing well.
Aye, I think I was probably never going to get man of the match type of things. It might be consistent or just making sure that you're reliable. I think obviously that's what the manager wants. I know it's a lot harder for probably attacking players because you can have a game where you're playing excellent, and then obviously the next week it's maybe hard to replicate that. Obviously for defenders you want to sort of get that consistency, and for the most part I think I've done that most of the season. Of course you're going to have games where you're slightly better or slightly worse, but I think I've done that over the course of the season. Like you say, only missing 2 games, managed to stay relatively injury free. Obviously your body's always sort of sore, especially this time of the season as well. You start to get fatigue, but this is the sort of crunch part of the season. You've sort of got to suck it up and sort of get on with it.
Got you. And very obviously we've got Friday and then 2 more league games. We know that we can't finish any lower than second, so we know what's coming after that. Whatever happens, you'll be taking these last 3 league games as serious as the preceding 40 plus, won't you? Yeah,
of course. Like I say, it's a chance to be on good form, to make sure we're sharp in these games. Obviously you could essentially say we're playing maybe with a little bit more freedom, but a little bit less pressure, but at the end of the day you want to go out and win. I think I don't know if we've equalled, is it the second highest or the highest points tally Raith have had?
One of the two, yeah.
Something like that anyway, but obviously we want to do better. We want to keep pushing as a team, and like I say, we just got to make sure that we're playing well and going into the playoff games feeling confident, and the boys are ready for it. And
you'll be looking at those other the preceding playoff games, the quarter-final that takes place before we get involved. You'll be looking at that with interest, knowing that whoever gets through to play us, it's not going to be an easy task. It's going to be very tough.
No, it is. Obviously you get that little benefit of a slight break, finishing second before you go into the first playoff game. So hopefully we'll be fresh. We'll be able to look at things tactically. I'm sure all the boys will probably be watching the playoff games as well with interest, just checking up on teams, checking up on players, see who you're probably going to be playing against. Of course we've played so many games already this season against a lot of the teams, so you should have a rough idea, but you never know what's going to get thrown up at this stage of the season, so I'm sure boys will be watching it.
Yeah, and this interview, we weren't initially meant to be interviewing you, so So I didn't do any research on this point, but what's your own personal experience of playoffs so far in your career with Falkirk, Alloa, Stranraer and so on?
So when I was at Falkirk, they finished second one year, but I was on loan a lot of the season, so I wasn't really involved. I was involved in the playoffs with Stranraer. Actually, we played Livingston, and I think like Shawnee Byrne played in that. I don't know about Mulsey. And we managed to win that game. We played Ayr United in the playoff final, one each at Stair Park, and then we were 0-0, extra time still 0-0, and then it went to penalties, and unfortunately the first three boys it took for us missed the penalties. So I think in terms of that was a bit of heartbreak. And then with Alloa, we actually done quite well. Obviously being a part-time team, we managed to avoid the relegation playoffs totally. So ups and downs, but I'm happy that obviously this season it's a lot more positive in the championship, up the top end, and I think that's been spoken about before. You know, there is pressure, but you prefer the pressure up that end of the table than being down the bottom.
Yeah, and obviously just go back to playoffs again, with you being one of the more experienced players now, and that playoff experience in the past, you know exactly what's required in these killer games. Yeah,
absolutely. You know, there's a lot of good players in our team that have got experience. We're fortunate to have them. Boys like Josh Mullen, Keith Watson, Ewan Murray, Sean Byrne, to name a few, that have actually won the league. So having them will be a massive benefit. We'll just be looking to make sure that in these games, you know, we manage the games right, because I know obviously that's maybe been something that's looked on previously in the season, that if we've maybe not managed the games too well. I think we have got better at that as well, which is obviously important for this time of the season and in these games that are obviously so important. So it'll be interesting to see how obviously the game unfolds, but like I say, we've got the right characters in the changing room that have got good experience like myself, and you've also got other younger players that will give us energy as well.
Yeah. Finally, and then I'll let you get away, you'll be looking forward to those playoffs to reward not only yourself but also the supporters who've backed us like right from day one.
100%. I think it's easy to forget, we finished 7th last year. There's a lot of players that are obviously still here. I was part of that. So we've came such a long way, and I can totally understand that fans are probably feeling a little bit disappointed in the sense that they thought, you know, we're doing so well, it might have went to the last day, but that's only came with the expectation of how well we've done already. So I think we've got to be really positive about where we've finished, and hopefully going into these last few games the fans will be right behind us. We know they will, they've been in the numbers all season, and we can go and do one more.
Smashing. Thanks for that and good luck.
Perfect, thank you.